sur le sable, les pas des amants.
Welcome, brothers and sisters, to the March edition of what I watched in 2024. Yes, that's correct, March Madness has indeed concluded, and I have risen once again. Coincidentally, right after Easter, and I'm not saying anything, don't even let me talk too much, but isn't it weird you've never seen me and Jesus in the same room? Anyway, I hope you all had a lovely break over the bank holiday. Shall we begin? Much better than the first part in my opinion. The action scenes are good and the sound is great. I do feel like it's a very long time to be looking at sound though when you're not head over heels with the narrative. I do like the themes present in this one, especially the core Messiah ideology that's built on, and the negative connotation that it brings in terms of hope and expectations from believers. I feel like having Timothy and Zendaya as your leads is like somebody snuck in the work experience kids and nobody has noticed yet. I still struggle taking them seriously. I don't think the oversaturation of them has helped over the last couple of years. I feel like Austin Butler's character was majorly underused. I felt like there wasn't really a major threat for the whole film. Perhaps they were scared he was going to break into blue suede shoes or something, who the fuck knows. Most of the events seemed pretty inconsequential. Most of the things that they needed to do were easily solved. And like I said, there didn't really seem to be any sort of threat or anything for the characters to worry about. However, I'm way more interested in the next part than I thought I would be, which is a massive turnaround from my original opinion of the series. Longer than it needs to be and unmistakably dated with a lot of its references, but a decent comedy-based murder mystery. Somehow this series remains fresh and it'll be very interesting to see how Knives Out 3 goes, but any news of a returning Benoit Blanc is welcome news to me. It's always fascinating preparing to watch something with so much influence and historical weight behind it. I almost feel pressured, like this is bread and butter if you like films. This is one of the ones that always makes it into the top lists. So, who can I really be if I don't enjoy this film? The opening is absolutely turgid. It might be my least favourite scene in cinema. Some of the best visuals I've ever seen. The production design and colour palette is off the scale, and it's so ahead of its time. My interest and understanding of the plot waned throughout. Its infamy hampers the experience a little bit in terms of the anticipation, because most of its most famous moments are spoilers. But it's an incredibly impressive feat of work, and its longevity and reputation speaks for itself. Whenever people ask me about Filth, I do my best Tame Impala impression and echo the same advice I was given before I watched it. The less you know, the better. McAvoy is great, the soundtrack is great, and it's very underrated. God, this was tough. I've heard sort of mixed things about the classic Batman films anyway. Unfortunately, not even Jack Nicholson could save it. It's so incredibly boring. I do like the classic Batmobile. That design is sick. A lot of this is pretty ropey, but it does give us Darth Maul, so there's that. This one did not click for me. I really thought I would like it. It has nice colours, but that's about it. Right, time for you to do some learning. A giallo is a genre of film in Italian cinema. It's usually slasher or psychological thriller based with bright colours and a random streak of nudity, it seems, at least from what I've seen. This is an average one of those. It's decent, but not as good as its contemporaries. This rating definitely was fortunate enough to get a nostalgia uplift. Wow, Anakin is incredibly painful in this movie. He's such a whiny bitch. There's like 3 good scenes and the rest are just god awful. The score in this film is great. The performances do the job. I do like the characters. There's some questionable writing. I suppose that's its age showing. It's an enjoyable watch. I gave it a high 3. James Blank Check Cameron shows up to work again and reinvents the colour blue and defines the new standard of VFX with Avatar. I couldn't believe it took me so long to watch it, to be honest. It's fucking long, but I did like it. It has a generic, predictable plot, but there's great action. And if it made it to the ending montage in Babylon, it's Kino. The modern sequel of Tron is famous for the neon and score, and anytime it strayed away from that or wanted to be too serious, I tended to lose interest. It might have been more enjoyable if I'd have watched the first one, I don't know. I did not care about the hero's villain or the story. The performances are pretty shaky too. The slow-mo was effective though, and it's definitely one of the few films that could get away with an overuse of it. Actually, Frankenstein was the doctor, so naming a character that based on physical appearance is nonsensical and inaccurate. The premise of this film is that you have to kill people with a car to earn points. That kind of sums it up. It's decent fun, and then Stallone is just there as well. Plus this broad gets naked. This film is absolutely perfect. I love it. Brilliant. I completely forgot how fucking loud this film is. It was great seeing it in the cinema. And do you know how good David Fincher is? His filmography is absolutely insane. Look at this. Unbelievable. Looks great, but I did not give a single fuck about the characters or the plot, which is impressive considering they're stealing plans for the Death Star. For fuck's sake, how can this be this boring? That one Vader scene is cold though, and I must admit it does fit very nicely into the timeline. One of the examples of the effectiveness of a score. The chemistry between the guys on the boat is great, and Spielberg was way ahead of his time here. Understated cinematography, and that's a fucking great title too. Obi-Wan does a random spin during a lightsaber duel, and Vader is Tarkin's bitch for the entire film. C-3PO bitching at R2 will never not be funny, and Carrie Fisher always melts my heart. It's just iconic. Sandra should have won lead actress. I love you, Emma, but I cannot believe it. This performance is absolutely nuts. The argument scene gives me goosebumps. I'd even go as far as to say that this cracks into my top 15 of all time. It's definitely up there. The Empire Strikes Back is the most iconic film of all time. It's just non-stop cinema history for real. Every scene could be the individual big scene of a film. They are that strong independent of each other, but altogether it's almost painful how good it is. If you actually went through breaking down each scene, it's unbelievable, like I say. Pretty shit as expected. More of the humour landed than I expected to though. Horrible janky fight scenes, especially for something with martial arts as one of the major plot points in it. I think the UFC angle was a cheap promotion. I expected a little more than that. Way too fucking long as well. At 90 minutes I think you could get away with it being harmless fun. At 120 minutes plus it's a chore. And that was March, folks. I'm tired as fuck, so I'm going to go to bed now. Thank you very much for watching. I shall see you for April showers, baby.